Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome back to another O-Gauge review. Today's model is another wagon from Dapol. It's quite a new one. It came out mid-2020, I believe, and I've actually had it since more or less it was released, but I just haven't had a chance to review it yet. But I've made time, and here it is today. So it is the Dapol O-Gauge Turbot wagon, and in real life, I believe these were introduced in the 1970s, somewhere around there, and they were used to carry all sorts of things, mainly ballast, I believe. Now, the RRP for this is £69.95, and I bought mine from Hatton's for £59.46. And if you'd like to check out the range yourself, there is an affiliate link down in the description. Now, to me, that doesn't sound too bad. Obviously, it's quite a lot of money. It is an O-Gauge wagon, and that's quite typical, but it's actually only around £20 more expensive than the much smaller Dapol open wagons. And I also saw the word diecast thrown around on some of the listings, so I think it's reasonable to feel quite excited about this. So today I'm going to get this out. We'll figure out what this is like, if it's any good or not, I suppose. Then, of course, we'll get it running and see how it performs. Let's do this. Let's find out. So if I'm being honest with you, I've already had a bit of a laugh to myself about the packaging on this model, because whoever designed it obviously got really confused. Look at this, it's quite amusing. So this is the front of the box, okay, we agree, you can see all the text is the right way around. If we turn it this way, yeah, the same thing is true, text the right way around. We turn it this way, suddenly everything is upside down, and then if we turn it again, then everything is the right way around again. What is going on with that? How difficult can it possibly be? And by the way, if you turn it around the normal way, then the back is upside down. Just how do you get these things wrong? I mean, you just look at any box. It doesn't have to be a model railway box, any product at all. Just all packaging works the same way. It's just, I don't understand. I mean, it doesn't matter at all, right? I'm having a bit of a jokey rant here because it is just the packaging. But when accuracy and attention to detail is the order of the day, it doesn't bode very well, does it, that? But either way, not a big deal, it's just something to point out. Something probably more worrying is this spring here, which appears to be loose inside the packaging. I'm really hoping that hasn't come from, I don't know, a sprung buffer or a coupling, because I've had that in the past with Dapol rolling stock, and it's really annoyed me having to sort of reassemble them straight out of the box. Anyway, let me show you the products I have here then. So this one is 7F-043-002. It's a Turbot bogie ballast wagon, EWS maroon, and it's DB978396, which I assume will be the running number of this particular version. And I think they also have the original sort of, it's like a yellow/grey livery, if I remember correctly. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, let me open the box and we will see what we have inside. Hopefully it will be a Turbot wagon. I really like the look of these, actually. They were actually rebuilt from bogie bolster E-wagons, I think, which looked completely different. If I can find a picture that isn't copyrighted, I'll put it in. Yeah, they didn't look at all like the Turbots, but they were rebuilt with these sort of sides and everything so that they could carry ballast. Anyway, here's this spring, which does appear to have escaped from something. I guess we'll find out what. It's a very nicely made spring, lots of detail to it, painted black very nicely. Yes, I like that. That's a nice bonus. Thank you, Dapol, for that. It's better than the gross black hair that Hornby are now giving away with some models. Anyway, let's pull off the protective wrap, and there it is. Well, I can see there's some sort of planking going on the inside, which has all been moulded in. That's very nice. Okay, let's gently pull this out. And wow. Oh, and yet, there we go. I called it. There's a coupling lying in the bottom of the pack right there. Yeah, that's in pieces, isn't it? And then there's something else in here as well. I thought I saw, yeah, in the packaging, some sort of washer or spacer. There we go. So, yeah, it's not boding so well on the quality, is it? It's like Dapol's signature. It's like their calling card, isn't it? Got to have a bit dropped off it. But if we can ignore that for just a second, which I won't ignore, obviously, on the quality rating, this thing looks incredibly good, doesn't it? It's very large, much larger than I expected, really, and clearly the decoration looks absolutely fantastic. The finish is ultra pristine, which won't be everybody's cup of tea, but yeah, I ordered a pristine model, and this certainly does look super pristine. The wheels look marvellous, don't they? I love these sort of holes in the wheels there. I don't think I've got any rolling stock like that already in O-Gauge. Maybe I have, but yeah, it seems quite new and different, does that. Yeah, this looks great, and it feels super heavy in the hands, and in fact, if I touch the underframe here, or the sole bars, they're actually made of metal, and that is a quality touch, isn't it, for a piece of rolling stock that is, you know, only just over £50. That is quite marvellous. And just would you look at the underframe there, that looks absolutely insane, doesn't it? I noticed there's some more of those black springs under there, although I don't think those are real, so no, the one that was loose in the box must have come from the coupling. Yeah, I mean, it spoils the experience, doesn't it, when there's damage well, not even out of the box, it was damage in the box, I suppose. It does spoil it a little bit, and it does seem to be a theme with Dapol. Like, I've always said this, haven't I? Their O-gauge couplings are rubbish, and they don't seem to learn. Well, never mind. Right, let's get this up onto the white background then, and we will take a closer look at some of the details. So there it is then, up close and personal for you, the Dapol O-gauge Turbot wagon. And to be honest with you, this is really, really nicely made. Generally speaking, I'm quite impressed with this. I say generally speaking because I've done some investigation, and as I initially thought, yes, as usual, the couplings are absolutely rubbish on this. So if we look at the coupling that did actually manage to stay fitted to the model, you can see that the spring is held in place by what looks like a pin, and also notice that even that pin is badly bent and looks like it's ready to fail. Well, I couldn't find a pin like that for the other coupling. Whether it escaped in transit, I'm not too sure, but I am 100% certain that I don't have it. So I'm going to have to try and make my own. The only other alternative being just run it with one coupling, which obviously would be rubbish. I could, I suppose, send it back, but that's a big faff, and I've had this quite a long time, and it wouldn't make sense trying to explain that I have had this for 6 months, but I've only just noticed the damage because I've only just unboxed it. Yeah, I think I'd rather just try and fix it myself. But yeah, that is the only major downside I've seen with this model, because overall it looks really, really nice. Just take a look up close at some of the decoration. Again, generally speaking, the decoration is perfectly applied. You can see in some areas it's a little bit sloppy, perhaps around the brake levers or maybe on the axle boxes, but that's being very, very picky, isn't it? Overall, the quality of the decoration is very good indeed, and as you can see, all of the text is crystal clear, as you'd expect it to be in O-gauge, and you've got all sorts of little tampo printed warnings and information about the wagon, etc, etc. It's really nicely painted. These side doors, which in real life I believe would open, and that's what made these Turbots so useful, because like I say, they could handle all sorts of different cargoes. These, I believe, are not openable on the model. I have pulled them a little bit, but obviously I don't want to tear them off if they're not supposed to open. They are at least separately fitted though, so if you really wanted to model an open door on a Turbot wagon, you could probably get them off and model it in the open position, but it's certainly not quite as easy as just opening the doors as you might on some other wagons, although I suppose in order to make these open and make them open in a way that isn't too fragile so that they won't break in the packaging, I guess it would make them look a lot less realistic, so I think that makes sense. It's fair enough, I suppose. The level of detail then is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, looking at the wagon like this, you can get a sense that it's a well-detailed model, but you really have to look properly underneath just to get a full idea of what's going on with this model. Look at the complexity. You can see all of the framework of the actual underside of the wagon, all of which I believe is die-cast, by the way, which is quite a marvellous bit of quality. You've got all of the brake system, all very faithfully represented under there. It looks absolutely fantastic, doesn't it? And the ends of the models look rather good as well. You've got these nice chunky vacuum pipes, which are good quality. You've got these steps, which I assume are made of metal, because again, those are very, very sturdy. They don't flex at all when you touch them. Obviously, don't test that theory too much, because it could all end in tears. But yeah, they do seem to be quality. They certainly aren't the kind that just drop off immediately. You've got buffers here, which appear to be made of metal, and they are sprung. Let me just do a bit of springing for that. There we go. Yep, it's very good, sprung buffers. And as we know, the couplings, well, they are useless. They are sprung, so when working properly, they will allow the model to be used quite nice and realistically. The bogie detail is quite good as well. As you can see, we've got the painted axle boxes and these very realistic looking suspension springs. And in the past, when I've shown these, I think it was on the Hatton's Warwell, people said, oh, I'm pretty sure those springs actually work, you know, you should try them. Well, they don't on this, and they didn't on the Warwell, but I know what you mean. They look that good, don't they? It doesn't take very much imagination at all to see those working as the thing runs along. You've got little separately painted handrails here. The interior looks realistic, as I've already noted earlier on, yet you've got that wood panelling effect on the floor there. I'm not sure if the doors would have looked quite this plain on the inside, but it's very possible that they would. I will just show you a close-up of some of the door opening mechanisms and the hinges and such, because that is quite a nicely detailed area. Yeah, overall I'm quite convinced by this. It looks fantastic, doesn't it? Now the weight isn't quite as much as I thought it was when I first pulled it out of the pack. This weighs in at 227 grams, which is actually quite light compared with some of the other O-gauge rolling stock I've looked at. For instance, it's less than half of the Hatton's Warwell wagon, despite that just being more or less a flatbed wagon without any body. So it is a little bit on the light side. Having said that, it doesn't feel terribly light to the point where it's going to be derailing or performing badly. So I don't think there are going to be any issues. However, we will find out for sure. So I'm going to get this onto my O-gauge layout. I'm not sure which loco I'll use, probably the 08, because that's the most sensible, isn't it? It's better than the 14XX, at least for something like this. And then of course we'll have some fun with it, get it running up and down, maybe with some other wagons, assuming of course I can fix that dodgy coupling. Well, I'll feed back to you on that in just a second. Alright then, let's pop the Turbot onto the track for the first time. Now I have been able to sort of fix the coupling. As you can see, I've not done a very good job, and without the proper pin to hold the coupling in place, it was too fiddly to get the spring in as well, so it is an unsprung coupling. And rubbish as my solution is, you can't deny it's still better than Dapol's because, well, it's holding the coupling in place, which is more than can be said for Dapol's. Okay, so it's on the track. It is reasonably freewheeling, which is quite impressive because unfortunately there are no proper bearings on the axles of these wagons, which is a bit of a step down from the previous open wagons I reviewed from Dapol, although I'm not complaining too much because, as you might remember, again, they cocked it up and they weren't fitted properly and some were too tight and some were too loose. It was a nightmare. I mean, at least this thing is free rolling. So yeah, that is one thing. That does seem really nice and free rolling actually, so despite the lack of proper bearings, I don't think there's too much of an issue. Right, I'm going to try and couple this up to my 08 shunter then, and we'll try it on the track, on the curves, and obviously across the points and things as well. Okay, let's have a go then. At least the fact that one of the couplings is no longer sprung means that I can extend the coupling far out from the model, which just makes it a bit easier for coupling. So I'm just trying to get one of the chains hooked around my dental pick for dogs. This is my dog dental pick, and I'll try and hook it around the hook on the 08 shunter here. Okay, there we go. I think that is job done. 08 shunter, let's move the turbot away, hopefully. Okay, there we go. Should we try it over the points just as they are first of all? Let's see if that works all right. Yeah, that seems all right, doesn't it? Let's see how it reverses. Bear in mind the coupling isn't functioning as it was designed to, but that is not my fault, as is evident. Let's try it a little bit quicker then, here we go. Yeah, it seems fairly reliable like that, doesn't it? Okay, let's change the points then, and we'll try it that way. Now, I'm going to take this steady, I'll warn you in advance, because this is the one thing that does worry me on this layout, because obviously it is in a precarious position, nothing derails on the straights, but on this point, that is not guaranteed. So, let's slow us down, all being well. Yep, and there we go. That seemed to work reasonably well. Right, well, let's try the same thing in reverse then, shall we? See if we can actually... Now, this is the scary bit. Here we go. One of those buffers is a bit dodgy on the 08 as well, but I think we've managed that. Okay, yeah, that was perfectly fine actually, wasn't it? Really impressed with that. Okay, let's try it a little bit quicker then, shall we? Let's try it at, say, 40% speed, something like that. Here we go. Yeah. That seems like it's solid as a rock, doesn't it, to be honest? Yeah, no complaints at all with that. Right, I'm going to engage the shuttle system then, and we'll get this running up and down, and I guess I'll get some nice shots of it running along so you can get a sense of what it looks like as part of a train. Alright, there we go. I'm not sure when the last change of direction came from the shuttle unit, so it's probably going to jerk into the other direction very soon, but it does seem to be fine. How does it get on around the curve, I'm interested to learn. Ah, we'll have to wait till next time, I suppose. No, that does look nice though, doesn't it? I do like that. And apparently they would have run on their own as well as in rakes, so it's not too bad that I've only got the one of them. But obviously I think if you had a whole bunch of them, they would look great together, wouldn't they? Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm really pleased with this. It's just the job. It looks fantastic. It didn't cost the earth. I mean, it does show in some places it is a little bit light, and the missing bearings is a bit of a pity, and the couplings were frankly useless. But overall, value for money seems absolutely fine, I would say. And here we go around the curve, just to prove that it can. I hope that it can. Yeah, that seemed absolutely perfect, didn't it? The performance seems to be totally adequate, doesn't it, really? Nice and smooth, not too much drag, stays on the track over points and over curves. Yeah, overall, hard to fault it really, isn't it? It does what it says on the tin, and it looks pretty good while it's doing it. A really lovely wagon, very pleased with this. Go on then, let's have some ratings for the Dapol O-Gauge Turbot wagon. The level of detail then, generally speaking, I was really impressed with the level of detail. In fact, the most impressive details you won't even see while it's running, you have to look underneath the model. But the details were there, they were many, and they were very nicely applied. The decoration, similarly well done. The only reason I haven't given this 5-star is because it doesn't have the opening doors. Now I get it, that's fine at this price point, that is fair enough. And yes, it might have compromised the accuracy or the realism if they had designed moving doors into this model. However, I can't really give it 5-star on detail because other models do have opening doors or other clever action features, and to give this 5-star, given that it doesn't have that, that would undermine those other models. But overall, yeah, I do think the detail was great. Performance, I can't really fault it. I suppose the faulty couplings get the benefit of the doubt here, but I will be penalising them in the quality category, don't worry. It works as it should, it hasn't derailed on points, it handles curves very, very nicely, respects the loading gauge, etc, etc, so it does get 5-star. Quality then, surprise, surprise, this is where the few issues I did find with the model sort of manifested themselves. First of all, the couplings. The couplings are terrible, and I know this because I've had quite a lot of them fail on me in the past, so it wasn't a surprise when I found that one of the couplings was just broken in the packaging. However, it was quite an annoyance and it was very, very fiddly to fix, and I wasn't able to fix it as new, which is a pity. Also, the wheel set doesn't have proper bearings, other O-Gauge models have, and also it wasn't that substantial a model, to be honest. 227 grams is a little bit on the light side for such a large piece of rolling stock. Value for money though, for £69.95, that's the RRP, or £59.46 at Hatton's. I thought that was more than reasonable. Yes, it's not a bargain, but to be honest, for your money, you do get a lot of detail, you get a great looking model, and even though it wasn't perfect necessarily where the quality was concerned, I was more than happy with this purchase. So if you particularly want one or a rake of turbot wagons in O-Gauge, there's nothing really that would stop me recommending this to you. It's absolutely fine, yes, more than happy. So overall then, that is a final score of 7.72 out of 10. That's not too bad, and I'm happy to reveal that as of 2021, I do have a separate locomotive and rolling stock logbook for O-Gauge. And with that, we open up the O-Gauge rolling stock logbook. There we go, with first. Obviously, it has to be first place. But if I do more O-Gauge reviews, which I'm hoping to this year, probably not as many as double O-Gauge, then this logbook will fill up nicely and we'll see how those stack up. I suppose it will make the end of year a little bit easier when I'm totting up which models are the best. But there we go, well done Dapol, nice model, reasonably impressed with that. Well folks, thank you very much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. I think, to be honest, for the first O-Gauge wagon of the year, it's not a bad start, is it, to be honest? There's plenty of room for improvement, so by no means have we seen the best yet, or so I hope. But yeah, I mean, that's laid the groundwork for the year, hasn't it? I've now reviewed some double O-Gauge rolling stock, some O-Gauge rolling stock, and some double O-Gauge locomotives. I suppose next I'll have to start looking into doing an O-Gauge locomotive. Would you like that? Do let me know down in the comments. You've still got some time to get some suggestions in. But for now, thanks for watching. I will see you very, very soon on the next one. You take care of yourselves. Cheers, folks.